Hi there, it's Jen from modernmedicinelady.com and the Empathic Woman System, and the word of the day is unspoken. And I choose this word because I received an inquiry from one of my followers who's going through a difficult time with feeling really drained and having very little energy. And they suspect that it's connected to their partner who is going through a difficult time. So I was thinking a lot about this. I was thinking about what is this about, and I was thinking about what kind of suggestions or advice can I offer. And what I realized is that so often when there is a difficult situation going on, it is not the stuff that is on the surface, it is not the stuff that is apparent that is necessarily what's really draining and really exhausting. It's all the stuff that is unspoken. Now, some people in this world have learned how to process grief, have learned how to process fear, are very capable of taking responsibility for their feelings and kind of move through them with grace. But I would say that probably, I don't know, I'm not even going to venture what percentage, but a lot of people, especially in sort of modern civilization, they don't have the tools to know how to handle intense emotions, especially negative emotions. And as kids, we were taught to, just basically stop crying and to, just move on. And especially certain generations, and if, like, say somebody is male, they have the added piece of big boys don't cry, push it under the rug, never let them see you sweat, just suck it up and move on, get over it, don't cry over spilled milk, all of these kinds of things. And in general, I think what happens is when we have something really intense going on, and particularly a negative emotion is surfacing, we try not to put a lot of energy or time into it. And especially, we may not want to be a burden to somebody else, so we don't talk about it. We might keep it kind of under wraps. But the thing is, as highly sensitive empathic people, we are the ones who know that there's an emotion in the room, even if it's not being acknowledged. We always can feel things, even if they're not being addressed or spoken about. And the thing is, when an emotion is unclaimed, when there's sort of a random, difficult feeling going on in a room, as empaths, we naturally process those emotions even if they're not our own. If somebody else isn't dealing with the feeling, then we will feel that feeling and we will try to process that feeling. And this is something that comes naturally for us. It is also something that I think we can unlearn. And I think in many ways it becomes necessary to unlearn this, because the thing is, as long as we keep on taking on the emotions of other people and we keep processing these feelings for other people, people never have to sit with what's really going on for them, and we can, they just basically rely on us to siphon the emotions off for them. So that can be incredibly exhausting. That can take an incredible amount of energy. But then on top of it, the thing is, when there's a lot of unspoken stuff, when there's a lot of energy that's going on in the space around us that's not being acknowledged and not being addressed, most of us as empaths are going to want to try to figure out what's going on. And chances are there's a part of us that needs to know where things are coming from in order to feel safe. And in many situations, especially when we're younger, this ability to sort of send our feelers out and to sense where is something coming from and what's really going on, it can be life-saving. This is a very, very important and useful skill. But the thing is, it is also an exhausting skill. It takes an incredible amount of exertion to be able to continuously do this. And when we don't know where something's coming from, when something remains unspoken, what happens is we're not focusing our attention and lasering in on one specific thing. We're generally wide open. We've got feelers and sensors going out in all kinds of different directions. And what we're doing is we're basically pinging all kinds of different things, trying to get answers. And as a result, we're getting information coming in from all kinds of different sources. So first, we're exerting an incredible amount of energy just putting it out there to try to figure out what's going on. And then second, we're exerting an incredible amount of energy because we're getting overwhelmed and flooded with everything coming back. And then on top of it, we're trying to process and filter it and make sense of it when we are basically so flooded with so much that it's next to impossible to manage it. So bottom line, no wonder you're exhausted. Think about this. I mean, you're dealing with the energy of suppressing emotions. You're dealing with the fact that you're probably processing the emotions. And part of you is trying to figure all of this stuff out and is putting an incredible amount of energy out into the world to try to sort this out and figure out what's happening. So here's the thing. This is what I have discovered over the years can be really effective and really helpful. First and foremost, it's just that first step, which you've already taken, which is acknowledging that there is something going on and acknowledging where you suspect it's coming from. And then from that, it's about reeling all of those sensors back in, making the deliberate choice to say, I am safe, I am in a situation where things are okay. Because now, obviously, if you are in a domestic violence situation, or if you are in a situation where you needed to be on guard and you needed to be paying attention, ultimately, you want to get yourself out of harm's way. But if you are in a dangerous situation, then I can understand using this ability. But as long as you are in a safe situation, you can make the decision to reel in your sensors and to basically choose to stop trying to sort it out and give yourself permission to be like, yep, this is uncomfortable, yep, it is weird, yes, there is some strange negative emotion going on around me, and I don't need to figure this out. I can just let it be what it is, and and that's okay. So that's the first step. The second step is about acknowledging what's going on and giving it room to be voiced, and also to hand it back to the person who's actually feeling the feeling. So in the case of somebody going through a difficult time, what we can do is we can really gently say, wow, I can only imagine how difficult this situation would be if I was going through it. I mean, with you going through I would imagine it would be really hard to cope with that. How are you doing with this? How are you dealing with it? How are you coping? How are you getting along? What's been happening for you? How's that working for you? And you obviously say it in your own voice and in your own way, but what you're doing is you're basically acknowledging what's going on. You're giving it a voice. It's going from being unspoken to spoken, and you're also handing it back to the person who's feeling the feelings instead of you processing it. Now, chances are the person is going to respond in one of two ways. They're either going to be like, oh my God, yes, I'm so glad you talked about it. I was afraid to talk about it because I thought you might think I might be a drag, or it might seem like I was being too negative, or I didn't want to like bum you out, whatever. And they express their feelings and acknowledge what's happening. Or they go, nope, I'm fine, not a problem, nothing going on here. Either way, you're handing it back to them. And if you get the second answer, then why in God's name, if they're not willing to deal with their feelings, are you going to deal with their feelings? It's sort of like, because the thing is, as long as you keep siphoning it off and you keep processing it, they're never going to feel the discomfort long enough and enough to actually have to take responsibility for it. Whereas if they just are like, yep, I'm not dealing with it, you can be like, okay, great. Knock yourself out not dealing with it. How's that? Check in with me in a little while. Let me know how that's working for you. Now, obviously, you don't say that. You don't want to be a snarky jerk when somebody's going through something really difficult. You want to give them that space. But it is very useful to know if they're either going to own it or if they're going to deny it. But if they're denying it, then you're just like, yep, you're denying it and I'm not picking it back up. And by doing that, it frees up so much energy, because number one, you're not exerting an incredible amount of energy trying to figure out where stuff is coming from. And number two, you're not exerting even more energy trying to process an emotion that's not your own. So my question to you right now is, are there places where there's unspoken stuff going on, where you are, one, exerting an incredible amount of energy trying to figure out what's going on and just pinging things and trying to sort stuff out that's affecting you strongly? And two, are you dealing with or processing unspoken emotions that are ultimately not really yours to deal with? Are you taking on that emotional processing for the stuff that is just left in the middle of the room? And what would it look like for you to decide to reel back in those sensors, to stop trying to ping this, to stop trying to get the answers, as well as what would it look like and how would it feel to stop taking on these other people's feelings and to stop trying to process them for them, to just basically be like, yep, that's yours and I'm handing it back to you. So I'd love to hear what you have to say. Please leave a comment below and let me know what you think about all of this. And until next word of the day, I'm wishing you peace and ease and freedom from the feelings that are not yours and freedom from needing to figure them out or process them. And in the meantime, please go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Jennifer Moore, Modern Medicine Lady. And while you're at it, I would be so grateful for you to help me get the message out. Please pass this along to other highly sensitive, empathic people who would find this message useful. Thank you so much for helping me, and until next word of the day, peace.